a vast population, and they're claiming to have dealt with it pretty swiftly and are getting back to normal. Can we believe that that's the real situation?
We can largely. I mean, one of the things we have to factor in with China is that its media is completely state controlled. So when people are opening a newspaper, they're turning on the TV. I mean, this is what my job is. I read newspapers, watch TV in China, all the stuff we normally do outside of work. And everywhere was delivering the same message that this virus is really serious and that people do need to stay at home. So everybody was getting this shared message. They weren't seeing a lot of fake news because China has censors who remove content from social media platforms, and people did take this seriously, and they were concerned. I mean, this started in a city that the UK equivalent would be Birmingham, so right in the centre, and spreading very fast at a time. It's Spring Festival when a lot of people travel. So people travelled home to meet their families, and they realised that, yeah, it's not the time to travel now because this is spreading very, very quickly. So they were in a good position that they weren't working because this was a national holiday and they could just stay put.
Whilst that censorship means that there's no fake news in the media, does it also mean, though, that there isn't the freedom to question the state narrative?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, one of the things that was very apparent early on is there was a lot of confusion about what exactly was happening in Wuhan. And I mean, I know of two cases where there were journalists who were going out onto the streets, independent journalists, so they were people who were just filming themselves. One went into a hospital, a man called Chen Qiushi, and he was trying to show what he said was the real situation in Wuhan. And what's happened is that he and this other man they've both disappeared. So they were trying to show journalism on platforms like Twitter that people in China can't access, but the West can. So they were trying to get their message out of China, and this means that the censors can't track their messages. But they could find out who these people were, and yeah, we've not heard from them since, and that's been nearly 3 months now.
Is there any way that you, monitoring the media, can get a sense then of what people in China really feel, or do you only get a sense of what the authorities tell you that people think?
Yeah, I get a good sense of both. So I've been watching this story from day one, so going back to very, very early January. And one of the things that was apparent early on is that we were hearing cases in Wuhan, and then we were hearing cases overseas, so in South Korea and Thailand, because obviously their media environment is very different to China's. And a lot of people were very cynical about the state covering things up then. So people were aware that there were cases in Wuhan, but they were like, why are there no other cases anywhere else in China? And what happened was then the state responded very quickly and said, if you hide cases, then you'll be nailed to the pillar of historical shame. And suddenly cases were reported everywhere. And there have been other key moments as well where the true kind of feelings of the Chinese people have come out. So the whistleblower doctor, the person who originally tried to raise awareness of this virus, a man called Liu Wenliang, he basically was detained by the police briefly and told not to spread rumours on social media when he said this virus might be serious. And he ultimately caught the virus and died. And what happened then was that there was just these floods of messages on social media, just anger towards the government from all over the country about these levels of censorship. So yeah, you do see pockets of both. You see what the state tells you, that what it wants to tell you, and also, yeah, the response that people try to get out.
Yeah, people may remember that video of seeing people being bundled from their flats, weren't they, into the back of a van to go off into quarantine, and I think that was quite a graphic illustration of the way that the state can operate in China, the powers that they have. And I suppose that in trying to limit the spread of the virus, and let's remember there have been just over 82,000 cases, only 82,000 in China, less than here, Spain, Italy and America, that those powers that they have, whether it be for physical control or whether it be mass surveillance, must have given the Chinese government real advantages in stopping the spread of the virus.
It has, yes, but people are concerned now about the long term. I mean, obviously, yeah, the question of whether a second wave will come. One of the things that we've seen is this movement towards preventing it through surveillance. So what people get is on their smartphones now something called a green code, which means that it's basically, it tells you an up-to-date track of how good your health is. So if yours is green, it means that you're safe and you can go out in public. And what you do is you pay for things on your phone that's attached to your card. You're scanning everything. So this is basically, you can't go into places unless you've got this green code. You scan your phone and it's attached to this green code and it says this person is healthy to enter this premises or like go on public transport. So this is one of the ways that China's now trying to control a second wave not coming into the country. But obviously there are always going to be ways where, I mean, one of the things that's a big concern at the moment are import cases, so people who are coming in, and particularly people who might not speak Chinese. So there's a lot of tensions towards expats and foreigners in the country who might not have this green code system and might not understand all of China's media and what it's telling them. So they're trying to up the ante now on English language content and to try and tell expats what they need to do as well.
Well, it's fascinating. It's fascinating, Kerry. Thank you so much. Kerry Allen, BBC's China media analyst, with us here on BBC Radio Wales at 6:49. And we've been talking about this a little bit this morning. How the team behind the scenes of the BBC TV series His Dark Materials have switched to making protective gear for the NHS. The adaptation of Sir Philip Pullman's trilogy is made by the production company Bad Wolf in Cardiff. And now the crew have turned their focus to protecting frontline medics during the coronavirus pandemic, as Geraint Thomas reports.
It's one of the most expensive dramas ever shown on the BBC.
The clothes you wear determine the way people see you.
But now the costume makers behind His Dark Materials are making protective clothing for the NHS.